Good evening and welcome. This is Primetime News on TV1. I'm Jayama Ratnayaka for the Newsfirst team. Today is the 19th of April 2021. Here are your headlines for this afternoon.
Consideration of petitions filed at the Supreme Court challenging the Port City Economic Commission Bill begins. Omalpe Sobitatero says Port City Bill undermines priority given to Buddhism in the Constitution. 2-minute silence for victims of April 21st attacks. All Catholic schools on holiday on the 21st. Farmers in Ampara helpless with no access to fertilizer.
Main sponsor.
A look at the top story for this evening. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa commenced his duties after the Sinhala and Tamil New Year as he met with MPs and ministers and the presidential staff members at the Presidential Secretariat this morning.
President Gotabaya Rajapaksa extended his New Year wishes to MPs, ministers and his staff and engaged in a casual conversation with them as well. Addressing attendees, the President said that their ambition should be to face the challenges posed in front of them and to fulfill the expectations of the people with a positive mindset. The President also attended the Tea Party, which was presided over by the Secretary to the President, Dr. P.B. Jayasundara. MPs, ministers and senior officials at the Presidential Secretariat were also present at the Tea Party. A party leaders meeting of the members of the Sri Lanka People's Alliance was held at Temple Trees under the patronage of Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa. The Prime Minister's office announced that the President of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party, Maithripala Sirisena, and the national organizer of the Sri Lanka People's Front, Basil Rajapaksa, were also present at the meeting. Jayanta Samaravira, representing Vimal Veeravansa's National Freedom Front, left Temple Trees during the meeting.
මම ඒකට සහභාගී වෙන්නේ නැහැ. වෙන කටයුත්තක් නිසා සහභාගී වෙන්න බැරුණා.
Meanwhile, at a media briefing held at the Podujana Peramuna headquarters this afternoon, journalists inquired about the party leaders' meeting held this morning.
ශ්‍රී ලංකා නිදහස් පොදුජන සන්ධානයේ පක්ෂ නායකයින්ගේ ශ්‍රී ලංකා නිදහස් පොදුජන සන්ධානයේ සමන්විත සියලුම පක්ෂ වලට තමයි අපි ආරාධනා කළා තිබුණේ මේ සාකච්ඡාවට සහභාගී වෙන්න. පක්ෂ නායකයින්ගේ කටයුතුමන් නේද තිබුණේ? ඔව් හැමදාම.
Yes, the same group that was always invited. They were invited every day.
අපි ආරාධනා හැමදාම ඒ අයද ආරාධනා කරනවා. පක්ෂ සංඛ්‍යාව තියෙන්නේ 14 වෙනි සන්ධානයේ. හරියට මතක නැහැ 14ක් වගේ. ඔව්. ඒ වෙනකොට අද 50 දෙනෙක් විතර සහභාගී වෙලා තියෙනවා කියලා ආරංචියක් තියෙනවා. ඒ අතර විමල් වීරවංශ, ගමම්පිල, වාසු කියන අය මන්ත්‍රීවරු මාත්‍යවරු මේ සඳහා සහභාගී වුණේ නැහැ කියලා සඳහන් වෙනවා. ඒ අර නායකයා වෙනුවට ඉතුරු 50 ගානම සහභාගී කරගත්තාට විරුද්ධව තමයි වුන් සහභාගී වුණේ නැහැ කියලා කතාවක් කියනවා. මේක සත්‍යතාවයක් කියනවා. නෑ ඒ සියලු දෙනාටම ආරාධනා කරලා තිබුණා. පැමිණීම ඉහළ බාර දෙයක් නේ. හැබැයි අද අලුත් දෙයක් කිසිසේත් සිදු වුණේ නැහැ. ඔය මේ පොඩ්ඩක් මොනවාද අරුද තියෙනවද ලොකුවට දැනෙන මොනවද දැනෙන්නේ? ලොකු අරුදයක්. මොකද ඔය කියන චරිත තුන මේ පක්ෂයේ නිකම් මේ පොඩි හෙලවෙන දාත් නෙවෙයිනේ. හෙලවෙන නම් ලොකුවටම හෙලලා වටන දාත් වගේ. නෑ ඒක එක සාකච්ඡාවට නොපැමිණීම දැවන්ත අරුදයක් හැටියට අතිශෝක්තියකින් ඉදිරිපත් කිරීම අපි දන්නේ නැහැ මොන අදහසක් ඉතුරු කරන්න දෙයක් තියෙනවා. අනිත් එක ඔබ ඔය ප්‍රශ්න අහන්න ඕනේ අපෙන් නෙමෙයි නොපැමිණි අයගෙන්. මොකද මේක මේ අපිට එහෙම ඔබ කියන ආකාරයේ කිසිම අර්බුදයක් නැහැ.
දැන් පහුගිය දවස්වල කතා කරා යහපාලන කාලේ පක්ෂ දෙපැත්තට ඇද්ද අරෝමයා නොඑක් කතා කිව්වා.
They said recently that the Yahapalne regime was in a tug of war in search of power. However, today a crisis has been created within the Sri Lanka Nidahas Podujana Peramuna. The crisis within that party has become a serious crisis. These people have not attended the meeting. As a result, the government has weakened.
නෑ කියලා නැගිටලා යනවා මෙයා එන්නේ නෑ සහභාගී වෙන්නේ නෑ එතකොට ඒ තත්ත්වය අද ආණ්ඩුවේ සෞඛ්‍ය තමයි ඉතාමත්ම අහිතකර තත්ත්වයට පත් වෙලා තියෙන්නේ.
Meanwhile, the Prime Minister's office issuing a statement this evening said, in light of the prevailing situation of the country, May Day rallies and marches will not be permitted. However, the PM's office said that meetings will be permitted on May Day. The statement also added that May Day meetings must be held in accordance to COVID-19 health guidelines. While the meeting of the party leaders of the Sri Lanka Podujana Sandhanaya was being held at Temple Trees this morning, several other special meetings were held throughout the course of the day. The meeting of the parliamentary group of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna was convened at the Presidential Secretariat this evening after the party leaders' meeting. Meanwhile, a meeting of party leaders representing Parliament was held today to discuss this week's parliamentary proceedings. Following the parliamentary party leaders' meeting, a group of the Samagi Jana Balavegaya also convened a meeting. A statement from the Parliament's Communications Department said that the party leaders had decided to take up the report of the Presidential Commission of Political Victimization on Thursday and Friday as part of an adjournment motion.
A matter that is done with urgency in secrecy has been presented to Parliament. Now on this political victimization bill, it consists of clauses 8, 9 and 10 which are recommendations to be enacted. Clause 8 in this regard says that the recommendations of the Presidential Commission on Political Victimization be enacted. This means that a small number of members of Parliament should be stripped of their civic rights. In addition, this states that the points 9 and 10 on this Commission report also should be enacted. They are trying to get it approved in Parliament. There are criminal cases here. It is proposed here that all those cases are thrown out. What does this consist of? It consists of the case pertaining to former MP Nadaraja Raviraj, the murder of Wasim Tajuddin, the assassination of Lasantha Vikramatunga, the case surrounding the death of former MP Joseph Pararajasingham, the case surrounding the Valikad issue, the disappearance of journalist Pragit Eknaligoda, and even the abduction of journalist Keith Noya. These are some of the cases, and if this is passed in Parliament, it calls for these cases to be thrown. What is being done here is the duty of the judiciary is being overruled by an order of Parliament. What they are trying to do is something that has never taken place in the history of independent Sri Lanka. It is something of great seriousness and something that is a big issue.
Main sponsor.
Cargios Online, delivering groceries on time, always.
Bellboy's got you covered. Download Bellboy today to get all your household appliance fixing and repairs done. Now available on Android and iOS.
In more headline-making news, the petitions filed challenging the constitutionality of the Port City Economic Commission bill were taken up for consideration today.
Counsel appearing for the petitioners making submissions in court pointed out the Port City Economic Commission bill attempts to create an all-powerful commission that is answerable to no one, and this affects the sovereignty of Sri Lanka. The commission is not subject to parliamentary oversight and is not answerable to COPE or COPA. The commission is empowered to manage all human activities and interactions within the limits of the port city, effectively creating a separate sovereign state. Even foreign nationals who are not citizens of Sri Lanka could be appointed to this commission, and the arrangement of the bill creates dual legal regimes which are against the government's policy of one country, one law. The powers vested with the commission are so broad that it effectively creates a separate legal entity that could even sue the government of Sri Lanka for compensation in the event the government attempts to alter regulations in the port city if the bill is passed in its current state. The bill disallows citizens in Sri Lanka who have earned money legally from investing them in the port city, while certain provisions in the bill that exempts investors from being subject to statutory regulations in Sri Lanka creates a haven for money laundering. The counsels appearing for the petitioners pointed out that as the provisions in the Port City Economic Commission bill are inconsistent with articles of the Constitution, including Article 1, 2, 3 and 4 of the Constitution and fundamental rights, The bill needs to be approved by a two-thirds majority in Parliament and by the people at a referendum.
Meanwhile, the Frontline Socialist Party engaged in a silent protest opposite the Supreme Court when the petition filed challenging the constitutionality of the Port City Economic Commission Bill were taken up for consideration today.
What did the government say in March? During the UNHRC sessions, they urged the people to sacrifice their rights for the sovereignty of our country. That is what they said. In April, they urged the people to sacrifice the sovereignty of the country to attract foreign investors. I don't know what the government will say in May. Now Joe Biden has said that the US is following China's method to move forward in the world. Therefore, when China interferes in the port city, the United States will interfere with the Trincomalee harbour. India will interfere with the Kanka Santaray port. Sri Lanka will be caught up in the regional power struggle in the near future.
India හෙටානිද්ද වෙද්දී ලංකාව සම්පූර්ණයෙන්ම ඉන්දියානු සාගරයේ ලෝක බලවතුන්ගේ කලාපීය බලවතුන්ගේ අධිරාජ්‍යවාදීන්ගේ බල පොරයට හසු වෙනවා.
The National Intellectual Bhikkhu Forum says dual citizens should not be allowed to be appointed to the Port City Economic Commission.
What is the party that opposes this? We have to think about who instructs this opposing faction. We are for our country, but countries like India and the United States are worried about the programs to expand their businesses in other countries. China is at the forefront of it. Even European countries conduct road shows and are attempting to bring their investments to the country. Although China is taking the initiative and constructing the port city, this business is not just conducted by China. When we went to meet the Mahanayaka Theras yesterday, even they said that there is no reason to oppose the port city if it does not cause harm to our culture and our values.
The National Bhikkhu Front pointed out that the people must be wary about the Port City Bill as the opposition against it is springing up from within the government itself. When the Portuguese initially came to Sri Lanka, they deceived the kings at the time. Once the agreement was made, they could not have gone back on it. Even today, we are paying the price for those mistakes. Also similar to the saying, Ingrudila Mirisgatha Wage, we sought the help of the Dutch to chase away the Portuguese. We have to still pay the price for what those kings did. The people who worked hard to form this government, including the clergy, today have come out and raised strong opposition against the government. When the 20th Amendment to the Constitution was tabled in Parliament, we saw many people, including Vijayadasa Rajapaksa, voicing their opposition against it. But in the end, he voted in favour of it. Also, Muruthetwe Anandathero also spoke out against the port city. He said that the government doesn't acknowledge their presence. But when they attended his birthday and gave him gifts, everything was all right. We also saw Dr. Vasantha Bandara. These scoundrels think that if they are against America, we are with them. And if they support America, we are against them. That is their impression. So we would like to clarify this and say that we are not simply against the West. The public should understand the truth about these scoundrels. The National Intellectual Sangha Council says Articles 52, 53 and 73 of the Port City Economic Commission Bill would be especially detrimental to Article 9 of the Constitution, which says Sri Lanka shall give Buddhism the foremost place. Venerable Omalpe Sobhita in a letter to the Ministry of Buddha Sasana cited the duty of the state to foster the Buddha Sasana will be taken away by these articles. The Thero handed over this letter to the Ministry of Buddha Sasana this morning.
This
bill violates the constitution, which says the government holds a responsibility of protecting and fostering the Buddha Sasana of the country. The Buddhist principle doesn't stand to justify gambling, murder and theft as means of earning money. The development achieved through corrupt acts such as this is not development. Without even taking up arms, we are offering our sovereignty to another country and we are making recommendations to accept their laws. If different laws are in effect, it means another country is in control. There is nothing else in there. This is why we are against it. If this bill violates the constitution, we must go for a referendum.
There are political parties within the Flower Bud that helped establish the government. They do not know what the contents of this are. There has not even been a discussion about it. How is it that parties that built this government together are unaware of the contents of the bill of the port city? Should they not have a discussion about this? Now we saw yesterday Kehelia Rambukwella, the media spokesperson, saying that if there are any shortcomings, they are willing to rectify it. That means they are unaware that there are in fact shortcomings. It turns out that the public does not know, neither does the cabinet. The parties within the flower bud do not know, even the president does not know. It is now clear that a different force is behind all of this.
Former chairman and director general of the Urban Development Authority convened a media briefing today and expressed their views about the Colombo port city.
2019 ඔක්තෝබර් කොළඹ වරාය නගර ව්‍යාපෘති ඉඩ
In October 2019, the Colombo Port City project land was taken over by the Urban Development Authority. Now this plot of land is completely under the purview of the Urban Development Authority. By October of 2019, construction planning were concluded and approval was sought from the Megapolis Ministry. This project, which was titled as Czech Port City, was agreed upon with the investors as well. The price of tax for a perch in Colombo is going at a rate of 16 million rupees. If we take that into account and calculate the value of this particular land, this 62-hectare land will cost 350 billion rupees. If this money is debited to a fund belonging to the Commission, we think that there is a high possibility that this money will not find its way to the National Treasury. If the port city undergoes proper management, we think that it will be a beneficial project to the economy of the country.
ආර්ථිකයට හොඳ ව්‍යාපෘතියක් බවට පත් කරගන්න පුළුවන් කියලා.
මේ 53 වගන්තියම කියන විදිහට වරින් වරට
According to clause 53 and according to the views expressed by the many parties, it seems that this is a one-stop shop. Instead of bringing new laws and regulations, we need to make the current system more efficient. This one-stop shop applies not only for the port city but for the entire country as well. Why are we trying to cover this up? If this one-stop shop comes to light, we are going to cure only a little part of this massive wound.
තුවාලේ පොඩි කොටසක් විතරයි මේ අපි සුව කරන්න හදන්නේ.
Meanwhile, the media conference for national development organized by the Department of Government Information was focused on the Colombo Port City project today.
Article number 5 of our constitution very clearly points out the country belongs to the Republic. It clearly states the country belonging to the Republic will consist of 25 administrative districts and the maritime boundaries of the nation. The 25 administrative districts are mentioned in the first sub-article. Now, does it say anywhere that the port city is a separate district or a separate country? No, this is part of the Colombo district. Port city consists of 6 lots. Now these 6 lots together make 446.6 hectares. The bill clearly states that the income generated by the Commission will undergo the supervision of the Auditor General as Section 154 of the Constitution states, which means this process will be under the purview of the Auditor General. The annual account reports have to be tabled in Parliament and have to go through the President. All that is included in this bill. This is just a proposed bill. This will be subjected to amendments after the Supreme Court amends it and once it goes to Parliament.
ඇමතුමා පෝට් සිටි එකට වෙනමම නීතියක් ක්‍රියාත්මක වෙනවා කියලා තියෙනවා රටේ නීතිය නැතුව ඒකේ මොකද්ද සත්‍යතාවය?
ඒක සම්පූර්ණ බොරුවක්. රටේ නීතිය තමයි ක්‍රියාත්මක වෙන්නේ.
It's a complete lie. The law of the land is what will apply here. The law of the land will be enacted as it is part of the Colombo district. It has already been decided. It has already been gazetted too. The entire land belongs to Sri Lanka, to the Colombo district. After that, it is placed under a commission appointed by the president and a lease is given under it to attract investors.
ඒ යටතේ බද්දට දීමක් තමයි සිදු කරන්නේ ආයෝජකයා ගෙන්නගෙන.
වරාය නගරයේ නිර්මාණය වීම අත්‍යවශ්‍යයි.
It is essential that the port city be created, but on the one hand, this has become a headache for the United States, which has been furious about the creation of the port city. It has been a headache for neighboring India. So they are trying to stop the project somehow. They are trying to disrupt this project. To implement that, they are trying to use their agents here in Sri Lanka. The US ambassador saw this as a money laundering center, and through that statement, the cat jumped out of the bag. Therefore, conspiracies are being hatched today to stop this huge development project in the port city, which will mark a turning point for Sri Lanka.
නතර කිරීමේ කුමන්ත්‍රණ පිට කුමන්ත්‍රණ ක්‍රියාත්මක වෙනවා. ඒක තමයි මේ හැම පැත්තකින්ම එළියට එන කියලා තමයි අපිට පේන්නේ.
Former Minister of Megapolis and Western Development, Patley Champika Ranawaka, made a warning about the port city during the last weekend. Even as of now, a tycoon is going to invest $450 million US. No one knows where his money comes from. And just like that, this tycoon will be able to pass his money without paying tax money to the Inland Revenue Department. Our country is heading in a direction in which we will lose all our money due to the establishment of an international money laundering centre. This is not a turning point.
More news follows after this short commercial break.
Yes.
The Archbishop of Colombo, His Eminence Malcolm Cardinal Ranjit, has called on the public to observe 2 minutes silence at 8:45 a.m. on the 21st of April. The Archbishop made this announcement this afternoon in Colombo.
We request the general public to observe 2 minutes silence starting from 8:45 a.m. on the 21st of April. It will be observed at all churches as well. We call on religious leaders to stand in solidarity and to observe this silence at temples and kovils as well. Consider this a national crisis. All Catholic schools under our purview will not function on the 21st of April. Since it will be a holiday, the children along with their parents can visit their respective churches and observe this silence. The Archbishop of Colombo also commented on his remarks made yesterday. I need to clarify one matter. What I said yesterday has been misinterpreted. I did not deny the existence of religious extremism. I did not speak of any political entity. I related Wahhabism to the local context and said it has become a tool of world powers. I spoke of political entities which transcend borders. I did not speak of politicians of our country. Our request from the leaders of this nation is to never forget this. Do not sweep this under the carpet. There was an abnormality during the voting process for the 20th Amendment. We need to understand why it happened. We need to ascertain why a certain leader of a party voted against it, while 3 others from his own party voted for it. They voted for someone who claimed votes of the Muslim community was not essential for him to pass the 20th. We have our reservations as to whether there was a deal behind it.
Asela Sampath, the national organizer of the movement to protect consumer rights, was released on bail today after being produced before the Fort Magistrates Court. Asela Sampath was arrested on suspicion for forcibly entering the office of the Superintendent of Consumer Affairs while conducting a protest.
Fort Magistrate Priyantha Liyanage ordered the suspect to be released on 2 sureties of 500,000 rupees, and the case is to be taken up again on the 2nd of June. Meanwhile, a silent protest is staged opposite the Fort Magistrates Court by the Jana Bala Power organization. As of late, people are not arrested or taken into custody for beating anyone, murder or robbery, not even for robbing the central bank, but simply when they speak for the rights of the people in the country. We are telling the government to work in a position where they can withstand criticism in this regard, and if they can't take criticism, it will be a big problem.
Amidst all of this, workers in nearly 200-acre Rajagala section of the Woodside estate in Madamahanwara are facing severe difficulties due to a lack of what they call proper management. This is the voice of the people.
The voice of the people. Residents of the area say that the Woodside estate in Madamahanwara, which belongs to the State Plantation Corporation, has not been properly managed for about 17 years. The 2 main water tanks that provided water to the workers in the Rajagala section of the Madamahanwara are now in a dilapidated state. Moreover, this is the condition of the existing road network connecting these people's houses. The residents' houses are also in a dilapidated state.
There are 2 of us who live here, but we don't even have a house. We have a small thatched house here. There are no facilities here and the children don't have a vehicle to go to school. We have to take the children in 3-wheelers and we must pay 1,200 rupees per month for each child.
Meanwhile, workers at the Woodside estate allege that they have not been paid their due wages for a long period of time.
The estate has given us no allowances or facilities as of yet. We don't even have lined rooms to live and have resorted to living in these houses. This estate of about 200 acres has turned into a forest due to neglect.
Plantation workers say that no matter how much the authorities have been informed, there are no proper solutions to their issues as of yet. The voice of the people.
The residents of Kitsiri village in Tamutegama of Anuradhapura convened a press briefing today. Their main grievances was that they did not receive the 5,000 rupee allowance promised by the government in line of the new year.
None
of us received the 5,000 allowance. The government said a person with a three-wheeler will not receive this allowance, but everyone below that who are suffering from extreme poverty will only receive the benefit. But there are people here who don't even own a bicycle. In the neighbouring village, big businessmen who own lorries and buses have been given the allowance. The poor people have no chance with this government. The small man is crushed in this wheel which pays no attention to the poor man.
The minister in charge expressed the following views regarding this. By
last Friday, we had given allowances to the tune of 11.5 billion rupees, which were given to 2,300,000 family units. Accordingly, from today onwards, we will recommence the program to provide the allowance to families that are eligible to receive it, but have not so far. However, we request the people to submit their appeals by this Wednesday. If there are families who have not received or are eligible to obtain this allowance, we've instructed the divisional secretariats to confirm the receipts by Wednesday. Accordingly, we expect to conclude the program by the end of this week.
A real-world data study in Israel found that the COVID-19 variant discovered in South Africa can break through the protection provided by Pfizer and BioNTech's COVID-19 vaccine to some extent. And with that, it's a wrap of primetime news on TV1 for tonight. However, we request our viewers to stay connected with News First, the voice of the people, as tonight's Face the Nation program will discuss the Port City Economic Commission Bill. On that note, we leave you tonight with the views expressed by Venerable Dr. Dambara Amilathera at a media briefing held earlier today. For the News First team, I'm Jama Ratnayaka, along with our sign language interpreter for tonight, Brian De Cruz. Take care, stay safe, and good night.
The epilogue.
ජනාධිපතිවරණයේදීත් අපි කිව්වා පාරට බහැලා හා වේදිකාවල ඒ වගේම මහමැතිවරණයේදීත් අපි පැහැදිලිවම කිව්වා මේ ගොල්ලන්ට කරන්න පුළුවන්.
We said on the road at the presidential election as well on stage at the general election, we made it clear that these people cannot do anything. We mentioned that they are not coming forward with the right intention, but the public did not listen. The interval is now over. The world and everything else has fallen to its feet. Some ministers are saying that Hitler's volume is not high enough, but I'd like to recommend they are messing up and that they are continuing to mess up. When they give China a number of hectares, what then happens to Pakistan's demands and Bangladesh's demands? What actions will be taken on the United States? What happens if there is a danger of this becoming a money laundering center? It has an impact on the world. So this whole thing was made without considering anything like that. They say Port City is a turning point. It is turning sideways. Which way is the turning point? This has happened to China. Our country does not have turning points. This is a complete farce. The other thing is that the people in the world do not believe what they hear when they think about this country, when people like Cabral are involved in this. With the issue surrounding the hedging deal and the bonds, even the fact that his son is today occupying one of the major positions in the Port City. Because of all this, can anyone have faith in us? The fact that he is taking the lead and giving voice cuts damage the pure intentions with which this project was started. Now I think this is something Gotabaya needs to understand. What he is trying to bring here is a separate country. We urge Gotabaya Rajapaksa not to be like Don Juan Dharmapala. Don Juan Dharmapala also betrayed the kingdom of Kotte through an agreement. This is what it is. It is actually worse. I am the only God who can guarantee national security. I am the only one who can save the country, were some of the things he said when he came in. There, however, is not even a paragraph on the state of national security at the Port City. There isn't even a line about it. That is a huge problem.
The epilogue.